Hi, I'm Melissa at last, and welcome back to my channel, Rose Ether Cherubim. So today we are talking about pain and its purpose. Before we even really delve into the topic, this reminds me of a comment that was left on one of my videos here on YouTube, where the the short was basically saying, pack light because where you're going next, God only wants you to bring your faith. And it was more about, stepping out in faith, taking that leap of faith so that you can move forward freely without any unnecessary baggage, right? And someone had placed a comment saying, well, why doesn't God want my pain? And that was hard to see, and then it was hard to answer. And I took some time to meditate on it. But by then, there were several other comments kind of, you know, going a little bit of a back and forth with this person, it's kind of saying, well, why would God want your pain? Like, that's unnecessary. And, and somebody defending them, saying, hey, you know, we don't know what God wants, so you can't say that to them, and stuff like that. So I was like, it's better to refrain from answering, right? And but now that it's brought up and it's a topic here, you know, God wants every part of us, right? And there are some places where it is time to let go of that pain, but then there are some places in our journey where we need to give that to God and talk to Him about it. Talk to Him about how to like sift through it and then release it. And if we're not honest with God and we're not bringing that to Him, we're holding on to something. It's similar to if you're holding on to extra baggage, you're walking around. Imagine pain as you're walking around every day with something extra tied to your neck, something extra weighing on your heart, and to give it like a visual. So imagine every day, whatever you're doing, you're wearing a backpack. You're wearing a backpack in the shower. You're wearing a backpack while you cook dinner. You're wearing a backpack while you're out for your walk or your run. You're wearing a backpack, and in that backpack is a little boulder titled pain. And people ask you what's in the backpack, why you have the backpack, and you never answer. You never say, or even worse, you tell people it's not their business, mind their business. And but people can see that it's wearing on you. People can see that it's not appropriate for you to be still carrying that backpack in the shower. In these different instances that you're wearing a backpack is not appropriate. And sometimes our pain looks like the same way. It's like it's not appropriate to carry it at this stage anymore. We don't know where to put it, who to give it to, how to give it to God. How to not keep this pain and have it as a part of our identity. How to not wear it like a badge of honor anymore. Who would we be without it? And I think those are a lot of things that we go through, talking about pain and trying to understand that, pain has its purpose, but its purpose is not to be our identity. And its purpose is not to be a badge of honor, because, God and Christ, they create us anew. We're made anew. So if we're holding on to pain from the past, that's kind of stifling us. And we need to figure it out. And we need to figure it out with God. So the corresponding verse today is Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Okay. But you know what? Let's go up to 27, okay? And then we can tie it all together in a nice little bow. 27. And he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. 28. And we know that all things work together for the good of them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose. So it's definitely tied into His purpose and the will of God. And how is our pain part of the will of God according to His purpose, right? But all things All things are made for that. So all things work together for the good of them that love God. So any of the pain that we're feeling, when we are connected and we love God, God's going to bring us to this understanding of what it was for, why it was for. And sometimes it's sometimes it is a burden to us, and it's something that we have to learn to give over to God and to let go, to cry it out, to feel the feelings associated with it, but let those feelings flow through us, not attach and not create a story based on them. So let God craft that story that comes with this pain, that comes with sometimes embarrassment or different things, again, even burden that comes and happens through this walk with God. But also know that he's gonna show you how the story unfolds. We can't make that story quite yet. We talked a little bit about that in testimony, but we have to really come through the end of it. Then we can kind of talk about it once we meditate and talk to God, and then God is giving us that green light to share our story, because he's the editor. He's given the final thoughts and how to structure it in a way that makes it impactful, powerful, and true. Like ultimately true. So this is why when we go through things and we experience pain in life, we have to connect it to the fact that this is all part of the process. Whatever it is I'm going through, sometimes it can be as a boundary that prevents me from getting further injured, right? And we think about that when it comes to signals that our body gives us. Our body will give us signals that we're in pain, that we have a headache, that we need water, or we need to rest. It kind of gives us signals of, hey, we're reaching a threshold here that we don't want to cross. We need to dial it back a little bit and reconsider some things that are going on. And that's something that God uses pain as. Like, okay, we understand that it's hurting us, it's spiritually hurting us, it's physically hurting us. We need to stop and assess what this situation is. So sometimes it's a warning, it's a flag, it's a boundary to kind of get you to be more aware. And other times it's a tool, it's to teach you. Because some of us, we do not learn unless we go through it, unless what we were told. What is it? You got to learn things the hard way. Sometimes as God's children, he knows we have to learn things the hard way, and pain is oftentimes associated with that. One of the biggest things that I've seen that kind of falls into that category is people who are unfaithful in romantic relationships, right? Sometimes they don't understand what it is they're doing to themselves and to others until they experience it, or until they lose something that they can't get back. Now, if they know that a person can always get you back even though they cheat or do this and that, they're not learning the lesson. But the pain of losing something that they cannot get back, then they learn the lesson. Then they begin to treat their future partners better and the people around them better, because they understand the consequence and the pain of losing access to somebody that they love. So there's a little tie there. So for God's hard-headed children that have to learn the hard way, pain is one of the ways that we learn. And pain is also a way that if you're one of the children that just go through burdens, and God has placed a lot on your shoulders, and for good reason, because you can handle it, right? Pain teaches us to be aware of not bringing on burdens that are not associated with God's purpose for our life. Sometimes we have to learn that way, because we're so big-hearted and we love everybody and we want to make everybody's life peaceful, and for them to find that peace the way that we have peace. But sometimes we have to experience pain to learn that we can't do that for people. Being God's middleman is not something that we can really achieve or do. Christ has that spot, right? The Holy Spirit has the spot, the angels have that spot. And then we can't be God for somebody where we're taking away their lessons and their pain and their experiences to make sure that they have comfort and ease. Like that's not our place either. So sometimes we have to learn, okay, I took on too much and now I feel not only a burden, but I feel pain regarding that. And I need to be more aware. I need to be self-aware, environmentally aware of what I'm doing and how I'm stepping. And pain can teach us that as well. Pain can also teach us that nothing is permanent in this life and that we need to enjoy every encounter and treat every encounter with people and experiences like it's the last time we could experience that. And we get to live life more fully when we're going that way. We tend to answer that phone call, or return that text message, or take that time, with, for example, children, because that's the last time they're going to be that age or that young. So you need to, take advantage of everything that life has to offer you experience wise, because when you experience the pain of loss and you can't go back and touch that time, you can't go back and change things, you're now living with regret. Those are also pain indicators of a lack of self-awareness, a lack of environmental awareness, a lack of time awareness, that things are going to happen and sometimes you're not going to get that experience again. And you have to be okay and sift through that feeling as well, and then let it flow through you, and know that the next time that God is presenting me experiences or time with people or a chance to meet and meet new people or do new things and connect, I am going to take that opportunity, and I'm going to do it in a way that lets God know that I now have that self-awareness, that I'm going to appreciate anything and everything that comes along my path, good, bad, indifferent, whatever shade of gray it falls, whatever category or shade of gray it wants to fall under. I'm going to enjoy it, experience it, and thank God for it, and now move in a new awareness. So there are lots of instances where, I felt pain and I needed to learn through it. From young, I went through a lot of experiences in life, and along with, being diagnosed with PCOS and CPTSD, I also dealt a lot with depression and the pain of that, the pain of, not, it's not that I didn't want to do anything or that I didn't care, but it's like my world of color was always gray. Every day was a hot, humid, muggy day. It didn't matter if the sun was shining. It didn't matter if it was raining. That's how it felt in my head. That's how it felt in my heart. And it's not that I didn't care. It's just that there wasn't enough of me. Like I lost my muchness. My sense of humor was gone. My sense of taste, my sense of anything was just gone. The want to thrive was not there, and I dealt with that through my teenage years, through my adult years. It's not been until my close walk with God that when I began to feel anything similar to that, like I know what to do. I know how to lean in my faith. I know how to lean in my word. I know that I'm not taking care of myself in some kind of way, and I'm not spiritually, I'm getting a little bit of spiritual space between me and God, and I need to close that. And I know the ways to do that now. But as a teenager and as a young adult, I didn't realize that it was my spirit longing for God, longing for a connection that made everything that I was experiencing in the world, good, bad, or indifferent, that I had no taste for it. I had no want for it because spiritually I was hurting. And I did not know that. I was not aware of that. I was aware of it to some component, but I couldn't put my brain together to understand spirit and flesh. Like, one was the other. I thought it was like mind, heart, body. I thought it was only that. And I didn't understand how things worked. But my spirit did. My spirit had this knowledge that it wasn't where it needed to be, and it didn't have the connection that it needed. And that faded over into my life, and it looked like depression on the outside. But it was spiritual wanting to be close to God, not knowing the reason for my purpose or my existence or what to trust in, and understanding that the world is a place that is harmful to me. So not having that connection to God, growing up and beginning to see the world for what it really is, that's what it created. And it was very painful to me. Painful to the point where I was like, I just rather not be here. And I'm ready to go. And the feeling that best describes it is I want to go home. And nothing in the environment of what I was felt like home. And every place that I went was uncomfortable. There was no comfortability. There was no peace. I didn't have peace in my spirit. I didn't have peace in my heart. And it turned into what looked like depression. And I wanted to go home. And that's the best way I could describe it. But it still not get to the essence of the uncomfortability I felt, like even living in my own body. It was like I wanted to be free. I wanted to go home. So I made an attempt to go home. I took, exit left, and I was just trying to get out of here. I was done. I was done with everything that life had to offer me. And I, ended up spending some time in like a 72-hour hold, make sure that, I'm okay. And to be honest, that point went through like a load of different medications, a load of therapies. I ended up spending the majority of my teenage years and young adult years in therapy, trying to figure it out, trying to stop this from happening again. And a lot of the medications made stuff worse, damaged my liver. Like it was not getting any better, because it wasn't chemical, it wasn't physical. It was my spirit. My spirit was longing for God, and nothing else was going to make me feel good. And I didn't know that. I didn't know how to put that together, but my journey and my walk got me there. And honestly, being in that 72-hour hold, I met some people, and it wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful, but the people that I met there were sweet. They had like a sweetness to them, like the pain was just too much, but they were still sweet. Their heart was good. And there's something about that, and meeting those people and hearing their story, that I was like, It made me reconsider. And there was or it was like a small type of ward, but and because you're underage, it's even smaller. So I was there with two other girls and a guy, and he never smiled, not once. He was just like, it was a mixture between being pissed off and being like real sad and like resigned, like he had given up. And I recognized that within myself. And I was like, okay. And I just made like a small little goal, like I want to make him laugh. Like I just want to make him laugh. Like I feel like I can do it. I can get that look off his face. And everybody was angry that he was there, because he came from a program. And when you come from like a program into a place like that, it's like you're on lockdown, so you can't leave outside, because he has a risk of running, right? So everybody was mad that he was there, but to me, I was like, oh, whatever, it's Florida. Who wants to go outside? Like it's not that serious. We're inside in the AC. We're okay. Like y'all need to relax. And finally, I think the second day that he was there, like I said something and I got like a little smirk and a chuckle. And I was like, yeah. So I like, a part of me like was like, okay, it's not so bad living. Like if, I don't know, if I could just do something like that. And then I kind of got to know my roommate, and she had just had, she had that same like resignation that I had, like that same of being resigned, of just like giving up, right? And she was she was like, yeah, I'm gonna live my whole life in like places like this, like I just am, you know. And she was just like okay with that, and she was just resigned to like, this is where I'm gonna live, this is what I'm gonna be, this is what I'm gonna do, and I don't care. And every time they kick me out, I'm just gonna do something to come back. And I was like, dang, you know. And I didn't know how to take it, I didn't know what to tell her. But when it was getting close to time for me to leave, I just went and I gave her a hug, and she hugged me back real hard. And I don't know what to tell her. And even to this day, as an adult, I probably wouldn't know what to say. But, you know, she hugged me back real strong. And it was those little connections, those little instances where, like, man, I could do something while I'm here. You know, it's like, I don't need to just be gone. And I can figure it out, and it's gonna be okay. And you know, and I did not like how I was treated there by the staff, you know. So I was like, yeah, I need to get out of here. And even though I don't feel great, there's still things I can do. And even though I had that resignation to just be done, seems like there's work to do. Seems like there's things that I can do to make other people's experiences better. And eventually my experience will get better. And there's that feeling that I had. And I said whatever I needed to say so that they can release me, right? And they didn't buy it, you know. They're just like, yeah, she's reading from a script somewhere, but you know, for you to leave, you gotta, you know, take this meds and do this therapy, and you know, you have to check in and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, I did end up spending a good portion of my youth being in therapy, trying to, you know, figure out everything that was going on in here. And did I feel better? No. No, it took time. And honestly, it took my relationship with God growing, where I you know, there's times that it got worse. But I also knew that I didn't want to go back there. And then I kind of resigned to the fact that, you know what, I do want to be here. And there's things that I can do. There's things that are still left for me to do, because obviously I'm here. It didn't work, right? So I'm here. And it was just kind of like living out of spite. Like, okay, I'm just going to do it because, you know, obviously, whatever, you know, God doesn't want me, you know, God has me here for a reason. And then I stuck to that. And I really stuck to that. And that allowed me to get through the pain of the highs and lows of life, the highs and lows that I were feeling. And the pain that comes with knowing that you're different and you don't feel things the same way. And the pain of looking out at others and being like, they don't have the same things that I have, you know. And again, maybe they do, or they did and they hit it better, who knows, right? But that's why too we don't compare, because it's just gonna extrapolate your pain. It's just gonna magnify it when you're trying to compare your load to somebody else's. You know, the only time you're looking at somebody else's plate is if they need something, right? And you can offer it to them. Other than that, you just keep it moving, because you're gonna make it worse for yourself. You know, you're gonna make the pain worse. So it wasn't good, and it didn't feel good for a long time, you know, going through that, and you know, fighting that spirit of, you know, being depressed, and what is the meaning, and feeling like things don't have meaning, or that you don't have meaning. And I understand that it was another spirit I was contending with, and I needed to let God in and remove a lot of my mindsets so that I can be stronger and I can move past this. And that everything that I experienced was to make me stronger, was to meet certain people, was to, if I could, bring a little bit of laughter or bring a smile or bring a sense of comfort or peace, in those small moments, to connect and let people know that they're not alone. They don't have to take that path if they don't want to. And just maybe make their day a little bit better. Even if I couldn't make my own day better at that point, I could do it for somebody else, and I could try, right? Every day I can get up and I can just try, and that's all I can do. And God showed me that. Even when I didn't think that I had a connection or a relationship with God, God was showing me that. And God was giving me that peace and that comfort to move forward. Move forward. You're going to meet me. You're going to know me. And it was only until I had that full realization that I began to feel better. And that I knew that things were of a spiritual nature. And I can fight that. And even when things are out of my control, my faith is going to kick in. My love for God is going to kick in. The fact that I'm not going to lean on my own understanding. And I know that God has this for a purpose. It's all for His good. It's all to make me stronger and to make me in a way where I'm a little more tenacious. I'm a little bit more savvy on how to move through the spiritual world. And the cultivation was happening, from many years ago leading up to now. And God just makes you stronger in that way, and you get to carry your burdens with more strength. It feels lighter, but it's just you getting stronger. And that's also what pain does too. It helps you to be able to learn to move past it, to transcend it, and to know that it's here for a reason, even if you don't understand it at the moment. Even if you're upset, even if you want to quit, you're going to find that within you. God's going to find that within you to keep going, and He's going to pull it out of you. And He's going to make that gold, that alchemical gold, even stronger. It's going to grow. It's going to be bigger. There's going to be more of it because God finds it in you, that He put in you, and then He helps you bring it out through your circumstances, through the situations you're going through. So my recommendation is, if you're feeling pain in any way, you bring it to God and you talk to Him about it. You get Him to work with you through it. And you ask God, how is this helping me grow? Can you show me? Will you show me? And sometimes He will, absolutely. And other times you're going to find out more towards the end, more when you can reflect back on the whole story and be like, this is why that was going on. But you have to know that it is for your growth. It is for the betterment. It is to make you stronger and to bring you down your path versus stopping you. And once we can begin to mentally take that away, that pain is something to just only stop me, and it's not there to protect me, it's not there to help me grow. Once we can move past that, then you can begin to experience the actual change that's going to come from experiencing it and knowing that there's a purpose in all of it. If you can rest your mind on that, then you can move through the experience, and then you're gonna grow. You're going to. And He's gonna pull out all the best parts of you, the resilience in you, the tenacity, the things that make you you. Honestly, is gonna shine past that pain. So just try to remember all of that when you're going through it. And when you're in the midst of pain, I know it's not easy to remember those things. It's not easy to not panic, but that's the first thing that you want to do, is not panic, is breathe through it. and meditate on what's hurting you and begin to also let it go. If you don't know how to let it go, if you're struggling with it, bring that into prayer every day. And there's going to be a morning where you wake up and that's not the first thing you think about. That's not the first thing you worry about. That's not the first thing you feel. And changing it. And honestly, I talk about this a lot, but gratitude. Waking up and thanking God for the day and calling the day something. So for me, I always say, thank you, God, for this beautiful day. As soon as I wake up, that's the first thought that's in my head. It's the first words that come out of my mouth. I'm already calling my day beautiful because I've experienced enough days that were gray, that were nothing, that were devoid of color. So all my days are going to be beautiful. And that's something that I'm going to start with. And you can add things, merciful, graceful, happy, joyful. You can begin to add other adjectives to it as you grow, but pick one thing and start there and start your day in gratitude, because when your mind is centered in gratitude, it doesn't leave room for panic, it doesn't leave room for fear, and it doesn't leave room for doubt. And neurologically, this has also been proven. So brain with more gratitude has less likely to fall into things like anxiety and depressions and different things that we as humans, we feel. And growing through that pain, like I said earlier, that's the alchemical goal. That's where your personality is going to shine, your heart's going to shine, your resilience, all of the great things that God placed in us to overcome adversity shines when we transcend pain. So prayer, right? Meditation, starting the morning with thanking God, starting your mornings with God, and ending your nights with God. All of that's going to protect your mind, your heart, and your spirit, so that whenever burdens or pain or different things come along your path, you know you're going to handle it, because you know that you have God around you. You know you have God within you that is going to help you get through any of those things. Plus, you're going to get a lesson out of it. Plus, you're going to get stronger out of it. All right, so I know this was not an easy conversation today, but I'm glad we had it. All right, I love you. You got this. I love you. God loves you more. See you later.